Hi, my name is Justin Lansley, and we'll be talking today about how new teachers can set up and manage classrooms successfully. A little bit of an overview. We have the intentional teacher, the very first days of school, classroom management 101, creating positive relationships, sustaining expectations, special education population, withdrawn students, misconceptions of management, and utilizing your support system. Classroom management is successful when procedures and expectations are set up at the beginning of the school year. When students walk in on the first day, they're able to tell what type of structure is in place, which is very important. For students that pose behavioral concerns, a structured class from the beginning can be helpful in managing those behaviors. Teachers need to have a strong understanding of their management philosophy, implement expectations and procedures, and support their style of instruction in classroom dynamics. Well-managed classroom looks like students are on task and engaged in learning. Students are aware of what is expected of them. There is little to no wasted time, confusion, or disruption. The classroom climate is relaxed, but students are focused. The concept of classroom management is more than just rules put in place for students to abide by. When planning space, teachers determine how overall layout of the classroom contributes to the classroom environment, such as desk setup, teacher desk, areas of instruction. Method of organization includes where all materials like books, crayons, paper, pencil will be stored, and procedures for students to access the materials is very important. It creates and establishes expectations and procedures that will be used from the first day of school that stand throughout the year. Give students some type of ownership within the classroom, allow them to voice which expectations they find worthwhile. Be flexible. You may find that a particular procedure or expectation needs to be adjusted to fit the needs, and this is something that even in my 8 years of teaching sometimes needs to be adjusted throughout each year. Sometimes procedures and expectations that worked really well one year, the next year have to adjust a little bit, so you always have to be flexible that way. Do use the term expectation versus rule. It sets up that positive connotation with the word. Instead of saying here are rules, you have to follow them. By giving them the expectation, you're almost telling them that that's what you expect of them. You expect them to be good students, and when you use the word expectation, that's what they tie to that. So create a manageable amount of expectations. Don't just go in and make 100 rules for students to follow, or 100 expectations. Most of the time, the rules kind of tie in together anyway, so you want to use a good amount for them to be able to actually follow. Use positive language, like I said, when creating the rules. Instead of saying something like no talking while others are talking, you can say, could you please raise your hand when you want to share with the group, because we want to hear what you have to say. Make your expectations clear and concise. Students should be able to clearly understand expectations. If they're confused, it's not that they're not following your expectation, it's that they're not sure what that expectation is, so you need to be clear. Display the expectations boldly in a location where students can always look. Creating positive relationships for academic success. All right. Research indicates that teachers' actions in their classrooms have twice as much impact on student achievement. Teachers have taken on the role of facilitator or guide in the classroom. They're no longer just a disciplinarian. You want to actually motivate these kids, these students to want to learn, and you do that by creating that positive environment. We understand it takes time for students to learn and properly follow expectations, so you need to provide feedback and correct the behaviors and open discussion for why the behavior is not acceptable in the classroom. Sustaining expectations for all students. During the first 3 weeks of school, procedures and expectations should be taught. This is one of those things where a lot of teachers feel instruction is going to take too much time. You know, they have to spend every second of the class on instruction. But what they don't realize is if you spend those couple weeks setting up the expectations, then when they are there to follow them, you actually save instruction time later because they're following those expectations, so you're able to make it up. Teachers need to be sure they are enforcing expectations consistently. If it doesn't occur, students will realize they're able to ignore the expectation with little consequence. So you have to follow up, be consistent. Even if it's verbal, saying to a student, you know what the expectation in this classroom is. To consistently manage these expectations, teachers need to determine how they will track them. The needs of the students should be considered. Some classes may require minimal tracking, while others require a more systemized approach. When tracking, teachers should choose a system that is realistic and manageable for them to implement, so you're not spending the majority of that instruction time just correcting behaviors. You want to be past that point, so you want to be able to track it efficiently. It shouldn't be something that should take away or disrupt the rest of the group. Remember to discuss behaviors and tracking the data with the students, which allows them to reflect on those behaviors. Expectations for the special education population. All right. All students need to be held to expectation, even special education students. Teachers should be considerate when making effective expectations. When considering expectations, you should determine who will participate in the rule creation. It may be beneficial to have expectations already clearly identified because it provides that structure right from the beginning. They should create a baseline for what normal behaviors look like each day. As mentioned earlier, expectations should be phrased positively. And additionally, we want to make sure we provide students with manageable amount of expectations to follow, not overloading them with 30 different expectations. Expectations may need to be communicated to students frequently and on a one-on-one basis to allow teacher to check for understanding of the expectations. Expectations, continued preventative strategies. With our EBD students, there are measures that teachers can take to prevent behaviors. These include designating a support person for regular check-in, or someone that can do if they need to cool down before an issue becomes bigger.
Lackey orchestra warm-up is in the drama room. Lackey orchestra warm-up is in the drama room.